All right, I am done with Diablo 4, and now it's time to review Diablo 4. If you bought Diablo 4 to play for the story, the campaign, and what it currently is right now, Diablo 4 is a 6 out of 10. If you don't plan on playing Diablo long-term and experiencing the seasons as they launch, which is what really Diablo 4 is, it's a 6 out of 10. For me, I bought Diablo 4 as a platform to give me a quarterly season experience. Hopefully, Diablo 4 team can give me a new season every quarter. They probably won't, but if they can, that'll be excellent. And I think the platform they have developed to give me a quarterly season is a 9 out of 10. Visually, it's excellent. Mechanically, it's excellent. Audio design, perfect. Look and feel, perfect. Atmosphere, very good. Overworld map is actually pretty accessible. When you go to these maps, there's just a lot to do, and a lot of it is fun. I don't think there's a hell tide up right now. Oh, there is a hell tide up right now. This hell tide is excellently designed. I love the hell tide. You go in there, you kill monsters, you get loot, you die, you lose a bunch of your hell tide shards, and you can open chests. It's a good way to get loot, and a lot of people go there. Extremely well designed. World bosses are way too easy. But they're okay. They might design them better. But for the world boss, it would be much better if Diablo 4 got rid of their idea that all players are equal. Inside of Blizzard and Diablo, there's this like inclusion. Everyone's equal. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's helping, which is bullshit. These world events, when you have 20 people fighting a boss, they need to rank the players. We need a player ranking. We need to see who is the bad mamma jamma doing all the damage and give him a ranking. When you kill the world boss, it needs to pull up a fucking scoreboard to show who's doing what. Because right now in Diablo 4, as it currently is, I have no reason to keep playing. I have no reason to keep upgrading. My gear is good enough to do all content. My character is good enough to do all content. So why would I want my number to go from 1 million to 2 million? There's no reason. But if they allowed like a ranking system of who's fucking up these world bosses the most, then I have a reason to get more loot. I want to be doing the most amount of damage. It's like winner, chicken dinner. It's like playing Warzone and you win a Warzone and then they put your name on the big screen saying you're the fucking god, you're the best consumer, you're the best thing ever, everybody loves you. You know, that's what I need in my Diablo 4. And they're never going to do it, but that would help with the world bosses. Now, this open world is pretty well designed in terms of, you know, its functionality within what they're planning, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of seasonal content. Seasonal content is going to be king. It's going to be where it's at. Hopefully, at Diablo 4, they have a visionary at the helm who's going to be able to push this seasonal content, and it's not just some corporate overlords trying to push cosmetics. All games that are good always have a visionary at the helm. Every single game. And all games that fail don't have a visionary at the helm. And that is what becomes the problem with these large corporate video game companies, is they have figureheads or CEOs or money people that are injecting all of their bullshit into the game, and there's no visionary. There's no gamer visionary creating the platform. For instance, FromSoft started with Kingsfield, and the project was kind of dead. It wasn't going anywhere. They put Miyazaki on there. Hidetaki Miyazaki, whatever his name is. They put him at the helm, and he's like, I have a vision, and he just went with his vision. They gave him free reign, mostly because they didn't care about the project, and then that turned into Demon Souls, which was his vision, and it was uncompromising. It was exactly what he wanted. And then after Demon Souls, the fans were like, easy mode, blah, blah, blah. He ignored everything, stuck to his vision, made Dark Souls, and now we all know where that led to. Elden Ring, still a part of his vision. He is the thought leader, the visionary, in control of that game. Diablo 4 needs one of those. And every good game is that way. Nier Automata had Yoko Taro as the visionary. Metal Gear Solid had that other douchebag as his visionary. And even Death Stranding, which I didn't play, but it looked pretty dumb because it looks like just a walking simulator. It's unique, it's original, and that's because it had a visionary at the helm. And I don't know if Diablo 4 has that visionary. Path of Exile has Chris Wilson, and I think it's got a couple other people underneath him as the visionaries. And the point of a visionary is to not placate the fans. The fans may be screaming they want XYZ, but the fans don't know what they fucking want. They never do. If you told fans before Demon Souls, before Dark Souls, what you want is a punishing game that when you die, you lose a permanent portion of your health, you lose all your experience points, and you're going to die a lot. No fan's going to be like, oh yeah, that's the game I want. But the visionary at the helm of that game was like, yeah, this is going to be a fun experience. You're all going to experience some pain. It's going to be a shared suffering, but at the end, it's going to be very rewarding. And we need a visionary like that with Diablo 4. If they get that, this game is going to be a 10 out of 10. It's going to last very many years, probably 10 years of content, because this platform is so good visually and mechanically. When you're moving around, it just feels good. Everything feels right. Everything looks right. It's a very well-made platform for Seasons. They're going to be able to slap almost anything, any idea they have, they can slap into this world, into this game. So for Season 1, if Season 1 doesn't go well, they can, for Season 2, completely modify it. They can do anything they want. They want to do like greater rifts. They want to do mirrored dungeons where everyone's doing the exact same dungeon that just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you have a leaderboard for who's the deepest dungeon with the exact same difficulty. They can do that. They can have world boss tiers with like a kill count for who's killed the most amount of world bosses. There's so much they can do. And the platform they built is going to provide the perfect avenue for all of it, if they have a visionary at the helm, and I hope they do. Now, I give it a 9 out of 10. A big part of that is probably because I had very low expectations coming into this game because of this mechanic right here. This jump over the ledge mechanic is basically a QuickTime event, and QuickTime events were terrible when they first started, and they're terrible now. Games like Uncharted are plagued with this type of lazy, boring game mechanic. Instead of going to this ledge, hitting Q for the game to play itself and do its pre-programmed mechanic, it can give me a jump button. If Blizzard wanted to be a visionary, if Blizzard wanted to push the ARPG game forward, they would have given me a jump button. So instead of hitting Q to cross this little ledge, which I could totally dash over, but it won't let me dash over that. I think you could probably teleport over that as a wizard, but I've never played a wizard. But it won't let me dash over that. I have to hit this stupid Q button. If they want to be visionary, they would have added a jump button. And this Q button is awful across the board when it does these pre-programmed events. There's a ladder. You want to climb the ladder and hit Q. It auto-climbs the ladder for you. It would be better if you hit Q to grab the ladder, and then you get up to climb the ladder. And if you don't want to climb the ladder, you can then go down and you have control over it. There's a thing where you cross a rope, and you hit Q, and it just auto-crosses the rope for you. But what if you want to stop midway? Or what if you want to jump down? You can't, because it isn't actually a game mechanic. You are stopping to let the game play itself as a QuickTime event. It's trash, and they were so proud of this during the beta and the alpha of Diablo. They were so proud of this feature. They had a whole section where they were talking about it and bragging about it. You hit a button to slide, and oh my God, I cringed the entire time. It is such a bad mechanic. Because of that and a lot of other things I was seeing, I had very low expectations for this game. But after playing it, I am over the moon over how well it is in comparison to how well I thought it was going to be. Now, obviously, there's a lot of problems, but all these problems, every problem that Diablo 4 has can be fixed. But a game like Path of Exile has problems that can't be fixed until they go to Path of Exile 2, and hopefully it can be fixed. For instance, in Path of Exile, you fill your screen up with mobs, the frames per second slow down to 15 seconds. You can't fix that. In Path of Exile, a lot of times the animations are just frozen or not there, and you'll pop into an area and then die because you didn't see the shaper beam or the shaper ball that was invisible when you went in there. So a lot of little problems in Path of Exile that they just can't fix because the platform that they built to provide you that seasonal content is not that good of a platform. And Diablo 4 is a very good platform to be providing seasons. Now, some of the skills are pretty bland, which that's kind of a good thing because it helps out for visual clarity. Can I hit T, go back to town? I'll talk about some of the game mechanics as I run a map. I don't really like everything they have available right now. The Hail Tides are excellent. The Whispering these quests here. The Whisper quests are really nice. The side quests are kind of bland, but I never really like side quests. I don't like the Lilith statue, so I just didn't get them. I found that kind of content to run around looking for these altars of Lilith. It's probably good for some people, but for me, it was very boring. There's way too many of them, and I'm just not going to do that. And that's fine. I didn't do it. I don't need to do it. There was no reason for me to do it. So yeah, I'm just not going to do that. When it gets to seasons, I might do it. Especially I'm not going to do it now because, I think July is when the seasons start. So it's going to get seasonal content. A big problem I have is Puncture is just so weak. It just does not do the damage it needs to do, and it's not even a generator. But when I go to my skill tree, I have to grab these 3 points in order to proceed. I wish I didn't have to grab these 3 points, or there was a way to just make this do more damage. Just double the damage of this. Even if you double the damage, it's still only going to be half the damage of my twisting blades. Double the damage. Just do it. Come on, don't fuck around. Just do it right now. Go in there, double the damage. Make Puncture feel good, because Puncture should feel good. When you hit someone with your primary ability, it should feel good to do, but it doesn't. The Paragon boards are pretty fun. I don't think nearly as deep as they should be, and I think it's just going to be pretty bland. You're going to figure out your Paragon board, you're going to slap your Paragon boards, and you're just going to follow through with it. There's not much optimization you do on a Paragon board. The only time you can optimize a Paragon board is if you're a complete idiot and you're just wasting points willy-nilly everywhere. So, it's fine. But again, the platform allows for them to just remove that and add whatever they want, because the core mechanics of this game, the way they designed it, is so strong. I didn't have any networking issues. I didn't have any performance issues. I had a couple crashes, but I think that was my game. I was on Chrome and my Chrome was having issues. Not my game, my PC. Everything has worked very well. Let me run one of these. I'm gonna run my highest one. What do I got? Tier 27. Now, I haven't watched anyone else's review of Diablo 4, and I haven't really watched any other builds or any other content, so I have no frame of reference for how good my build is. But in playing my build, I think it feels good. I can clear all the content. I don't die that often if I'm playing intelligently. So, I feel like my build is excellent. And that's exactly what I want from a game. I want to be able to build a build on my own, have it work, run all the content, and be just fine. I don't really like this pony that much. I feel it's a little wonky. It could be because I'm hot off of Elden Ring, and the pony in Elden Ring was spectacular with that jump button and just how well it worked. And I'm also hot off of Zelda, which pony is also a very nicely done pony. So this pony's just not that good. But it's better than walking, I guess. Another problem I have is the mobility skills are ultra cucked in this game. My dash has such a cooldown that I almost don't even want to do it for how big the freaking cooldown is on this dash. They need to cut that cooldown in half. And then for the Q to be useful, the dodge mechanic or whatever they call the evade, they need to make that either quicker or move farther. Because when you're popping this evade, it's mostly useless. Look at this. Right at the beginning. Look how dumb this is. Why can't I just walk through it? Why do they have to add this? It is so fucking lazy and stupid. They think they're being like good mechanics here by oh my god, I hate it so much. I can't even describe how passionately I hate this waste of my time and waste of developers' time. Some developer probably spent freaking 3 months developing this stupid mechanic which serves no purpose in the game. There's no purpose for this to be in the game. That had nothing to do with the story, has nothing to do with the engaging mechanic. It is pointless. Okay, let's move on. So Impale should feel better, and obviously they can change that as they get into the seasons. I feel bad for anyone who bought this game expecting this game to be the bee's knees right out of the gate and not understanding that this game is there for seasonal content. The only reason you're buying this game is for when the seasons launch. Oh, this is the worst dungeon I could have picked because of all this QuickTime event. Alright, let's pop the build. My build primarily revolves around popping that bad boy and then doing all the damage and killing everything. And then I'm using twisting blades to use my resource to be able to reduce the cooldown of my rain of arrows. And I'm using the unique amulet, build-defining amulet, which is super important. You got to have build-defining uniques. I'm using this build-defining unique. Your rain of arrows is always imbued with all imbuements at once. That makes my rain of arrows hit super hard and hit with something that's not physical. Because in this game, you get those enemy mob types that are immune to physical, and you're basically pointless against them. You can't do anything against them. So the poison imbue is nice for that, and that is also nice for that. And I don't really like the concept of a mob type being overly defensive against one thing. Yeah, this really is the worst map for me because of all these fucking quick time events. It'd be so much better if I had a jump button and maybe even a failure state. If you don't jump right, you could fall off the cliff and lose some health there. But as it stands, you just hit button to do thing. Hit button, do thing. It's distracting my review of the game. Visual clarity is a lot higher than Path of Exile. Could be because it's just a better looking game. But I can usually see what I'm doing a lot better in this game than I can with Path of Exile. I'm comparing it to Path of Exile because Path of Exile is the current ARPG king. It's still king. Still better than Diablo 4 because Diablo 4 hasn't released its seasonal content yet. But we'll see what happens on the seasonal content. I think they're going to be very good companion games. Diablo 4 is going to be like 80% action, 20% RPG, and Path of Exile is going to be like 40% action, 60% RPG. I'm always going to be a bigger fan of Path of Exile, likely, just because there's more complexity, and I like complexity. More build variety, and I love build variety. The absolute worst thing for action role-playing games are the meta. The meta is always dog shit. And people that are just meta cucks and they only play meta builds, it's awful. And they might be doing some of that stuff with some of the in-game like raid bosses. It might get super annoying where if you're not playing one of the specified good builds, you won't be allowed in the raid boss. And that will be annoying. They'll like kick you off or something like that. I don't know. But I don't think it'll get that way. Hopefully it won't get that way. Diablo players seem to have a lower video game IQ than Path of Exile players. They mostly just want to pop in, follow someone else's guide, and just mindlessly play the game, which is totally fine. So I don't think the meta is going to be too toxic against this game. Damn, my poison resistance must be real low. But as you can see, I'm doing a tier 27. It's pretty easy. I'm popping my Rain of Arrows. Very satisfying. Rain of Arrows is very satisfying skill. Feels great to use. And I have no reference point for whether or not I'm doing good damage, bad damage, because I just haven't really compared builds. I played with two other people. One of them was a druid, and the druid sucked ass. He was trying to do like a pet build, and he didn't do any damage. And the other was a wizard. And I did more damage than the wizard, but I think the wizard might have had a bit more stability. They were doing a burn build, and their survivability was definitely higher than mine. I died probably twice as much, which wasn't that much. I wasn't really dying a lot. As you can see here, I don't know if tier 27 is considered high. I don't know what is a high tier for this game, but it's the highest that I had in my inventory, and I'm breezing through it. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. It's easy. That goes into one fault. The game does feel a bit on the easy side and a bit too unstable for hardcore. Hasn't had an example yet, but this game has too much CC. Some of the CC can just get brutal. You can get it like 3 or 4 packs, each one having their own variation of CC. You can get one that knocks you down, you can get one that fears you, one that roots you, one that freezes you, and with all that CC and not very many anti-CC options in the game, it can feel a bit bad at times. You never want to play a game that has feels bad in it. You only want feels good. And most of this game is feels good. But that is actually kind of feels bad with all that CC. And the reliance on potion is a little odd. It is a design choice, so I can't critique it. It's just, I like life leech, I like life regen, and there's just not a lot of options for life leech and life regen in this game. I have a little bit of life leech on this character per crit, which is nice, which is actually the entire reason I picked a rogue, as I saw that it had life leech on one of the passive skills, and so I picked it. Now, in terms of the skill tree, it's basic, it's simple, it's fine. I like more complexity, but the good thing about the way they're doing it, which is obviously different than Path of Exile, is it's dynamic. I'll be able to switch up my builds on the fly, super easy, and I do like that. Just be able to pay a little bit of gold, refund all my passive skills, and just completely switch it up. Right now I'm doing a Rain of Arrows build. In 20 minutes of respecking, I could be playing something else. In Path of Exile, you basically always have to start a new character, rerun the campaign, which is dog shit. Now, speaking of the campaign, I don't care. It's not a part of my review. I don't know if it was good. I skipped everything. I don't care. If I want to hear the story, I'll let someone on YouTube tell me the story. But I don't play an action role-playing game for the story. I play it for the loot, for the game mechanics, for the good feels, all that kind of jazz. Don't give a shit about the story. I just don't. I don't care. So I have no say in it. It seemed like it was good. It seemed like chapters, the later chapters kind of seemed like it was falling off. I really wanted to get into the in-game content, and it just wasn't allowing me to get to in-game. See that fear? Look at that shit. It knocked me way back. It is too much. And then they have that darkness mechanic, which makes it dark on the ground and you can't hit anything, so you have to move. I don't like that either. Action role-playing game developers just are doing a terrible job of understanding what makes their game fun and what makes their games good. They try to have a mechanic where you're stationary, a stationary mechanic, but every single enemy mechanic is against you being stationary. So stationary builds will never be a thing because there's just so much shit to go against being stationary. And if you're gonna try to create a stationary mechanic, you at least have to have your game be comparable to being stationary. But this game is just not comparable to being stationary. You're stationary, you're dead. And I really don't like immunities. It seems like there's a little bit of immunity. When they have these shields, they're extra armor immunity, and they really are hard to kill for my build because I do mostly physical damage. But good thing I have the poison imbue to get it through. The one thing I like is the visual clarity. It's not ultra clear. Obviously, you can always complain about visual clarity. But for me, for some reason, I know where I'm at better in this game than in Path of Exile. Path of Exile, I will lose my character in the mess of skills and effects so frequently. And this game, it just... I didn't even see that guy. Though when I do die, I was an on-death effect? I think that was an on-death effect. When I do die in these games, I rarely know why. So that is still kind of a problem. I never really see it coming or understand where it's coming from. Let's pop one of these. Boosh. And that Rain of Arrows is just really satisfying. And that amulet is build defining. And I think build defining uniques is very nice. But I'm not going to be reading too much into that because it's going to be very different when the seasons come, I assume. Now the seasons can come and it'll be nothing but this. And then my review is going to go from a 9 to a 2. Because as I was saying, if you bought this game and you don't plan on playing seasons, you only plan on playing it once, you're not going. This is not a good game. As is base game, it's a 6 out of 10, even with all the high quality visuals and audio, look and feel, and game mechanics. If you don't plan on playing seasons and you're just going to play it at launch and no more, it's not that good of a game. But if you have played action role-playing games a lot like I have, I've played quite a few of them, even the lesser-known ones like Wilson or Titan. I guess Titan Quest is pretty popular. You know, I've played quite a few, and I know what to look for in the mechanics of these games and what they could be in the future. And this game has so much potential. All the flaws in the game can easily be fixed, and everything else is just really good. Man, this is a pretty hard dungeon. Mob type. Poison everywhere. Snakes. Yeah, that's a bad mob type for my character. Now for my character, I was doing mostly just flat damage reduction. I didn't focus on elemental reduction because I just didn't seem to feel it. I would get extra elemental reduction, and I just didn't feel it. And there might be a little too much because you have shadow and all those extras. It's not just fire, ice, and lightning. You have the extra ones in there, so it's a little harder to get all your resistances set up perfectly. So I mostly just ignored resistances and try to focus on damage reduction, just flat damage reduction. I got damage reduction from close range enemies. I got damage reduction from far range enemies. Oh, I completed it. So I just did I don't know how high level 27 is, but I just did a 27, 1 death, and I don't really understand how I died. Some ghost snake killed me. I think it was an on-death effect. So I was able to build this build all on my own, just from loot I found. I said, this looks good, this looks good. I slapped it together. It was good. So that's always a good sign. I don't really love the Paragon system. It's better than Diablo 3. Diablo 3 got lame real quick once you were just going into primary stat. So it is better than Diablo 3. But the good thing about it is it's totally changeable if they really want to change it season to season. And I think this game, just the way it was built, is a really good open platform for the seasons to be excellent. Now, one of my favorite parts in these kind of games is gambling, and guess what? Gambling is there right here. This bad boy, I can go gamble my heart's out. I love gambling. All games need gambling, so gambling's in. That's a check. That's a win. The town designs are a little wonky because every town's a little bit different, so you're probably going to want... I wish the TP, you can choose which town you want to TP to. There's a lot of little small gripes that can be changed, and hopefully they are changed. The obviously transparent map that has an overlay would be great. Teleporting to party members would be awesome. When you're in a party, just be able to click on their face like you can in Path of Exile. That'd be great. A little better like map tracking, a quest tracking. I could put on a quest for the whole party, and you can see like when I'm in the quest or where I'm at in the quest. It'd be pretty nice. Just a lot of little details that could be tuned up. But it's just little details. Nothing I would hold against this game because it's planning to be a persistent game. They plan on updating it, adding more content, having seasons, hopefully 1 a quarter. So every 4 months you could pop back into Diablo 3 for a weekend or two and just have, not Diablo 3, Diablo 4, a weekend or two and have just a good time. Pick a new build each season, try out the new seasonal content. Yeah, ultra happy with it. Exceeded all of my expectations. 9 out of 10. There's probably a lot I'm leaving out, but that's good enough for now. I'm done with the game. There's no reason for me to continue playing with my loot. There's no reason for me to do more damage. There's no reason for me to continue to upgrade. I still have some sacred gear, but in this iteration, there's no reason for me to keep playing. I'm not going to keep playing just for number to go up if that number going up doesn't do anything. So when they get to the seasons, hopefully they're able to pair gear and loot with content progress. That's something that Path of Exile does spectacularly. They've tuned that to perfection. You start out in white maps, and as you're leveling your gear, you eventually can do yellow maps. Then there's that big hurdle to red maps where you actually have to get a build going in order to get to like tier 14, 15, 16. You actually have like a solid build foundation. And these like mini milestones as you progress through the game. And each one of those mini milestones requires a loot upgrade that you can get through playing the game. It is super smooth. Hopefully they can iron that out. Because right now, in-game, there's no reason for me to keep playing. I can continue to get more DPS. I can continue to improve my loot. My loot is not that great, but there's just no reason for it. And hopefully when they get to the seasons, they'll be able to have a reason for it. And I kind of like the way the loot's designed with a lot of this stuff. There's so many options and variety. It reminds me of Diablo 3 Vanilla or just Diablo 2. I really like Diablo 3 Vanilla when they had the non-real money auction house because the variance on items was so high. They obviously designed that on purpose to use the real money auction house so Blizzard can cash in on that. But I kind of like items to have high variance in it because as you can see, let's just look at these gloves. These gloves are excellent. They have perfect crit. But willpower I don't give a shit about. and they have +4 rank of Twisting Blade. So I have 2 stats here that are just spectacular. But I can find another pair of gloves that has those 2 stats and then a third one and replace it. So I'm going to be able to constantly upgrade this gear as I play the game, and hopefully the content will provide that. Now, Blizzard has like a inclusivity goal where they try to pair all the enemies in the entire world so you can get a level 1 character and a level 70 character playing the same content. I don't necessarily like that, just because it makes your character feel a little weaker, because it's auto-scaling the difficulty based on your current character. And it's just a little weird. It's a design choice. I respect it as a design choice of theirs, but I just personally don't like it. I wish that there were areas that were too difficult for you to go to because you're not geared up enough, you're not leveled enough. Now, obviously, they have those to increase to you the world tiers. You have to get so strong to beat a specific world tier. But beyond that, everything kind of scales. I like a lot of the individual metrics on some of the loot. For instance, here, 43% reduced damage while injured. I like that idea. You get injured, you can take reduced damage. What else do we got here? Damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned. See, I try to focus on damage reduction on stuff like that. 10% chance, dodge chance against close enemies. So when I'm close range, I got a 10% chance to dodge. That's pretty cool. So I do like a lot of the actual individual stats on the weapons. 35% increased damage to close enemy, 24% increased damage to slow, 30% increased damage, ultimate damage. So you can, if you really wanted to, you can slowly cater all of your gear to do more damage for your ultimate. If you're building a build like me, where your rain of arrows is just slamming down on people doing the ultimate. So I kind of like it. But at the same time, when you go to your not your profile, that's a useless button. I don't like how much they hide the stats. My resistances are kind of trash, and it kind of doesn't seem like it matters. So you have poison, shadow, fire, all in the 40s. It doesn't matter because my overall resistances are pretty good. Like you have this armor, which I think just does a flat damage reduction for everything, and it's not really showing any of my other reduced damage stuff. I got a lot of reduced damage stuff that isn't in the resistance section. And that is kind of a flaw. Whenever let's say I find the world's best pair of pants. They're just absolutely perfect. If I put those pants on, I'm not gonna feel it. The only time I felt the upgrades was when my weapons were going from regular to whatever the one above that was, to sacred, to ancestral. Those are the only time I felt item upgrades. Now, for specific imbuements, you can feel the power there because those are usually build enabling powers. So I felt those, but every other piece of gear upgrade, I just didn't feel. Like if I lost 40 lightning resistances, I probably wouldn't even feel that. Probably wouldn't even notice. In a game like Path of Exile, you lose 40 lightning res, your build's done. You just no longer are able to play the game. So that's a little bit wonky. The itemization could use a little bit of tuning, but if they had this exact itemization, but then they had content to do for a reason for number to go up, especially the world boss, giving a leaderboard on the world boss. Whenever you do a world boss, it just kind of ranks every player on their contributions, and the more stats they have, the better. Like if they did DPS, and then they did like team healing, and then they did buff damage, how much you were buffing your other players or debuffing the enemy, just a whole leaderboard would be excellent. I don't know why they're not going to do it, and I know why they're not going to do it, but it's the wrong decision. They definitely should do something like that, because people need a reason for number to go up. Now, PvP opens an opportunity for a reason for number to go up. I went to the PvP zone. I think I killed like 2 people. It was pretty damn fun. I think there's good potential in the PvP space, especially for like team PvPing. I really like that you're collecting materials and you go to that resource point to extract. It's like an extraction point. When you go to that extraction point, it tells everyone in the PvP zone that you're extracting. The problem is there wasn't enough players in the PvP zone, so every time I extracted, no one came and tried to kill me. But it'd be really cool to have that reward/risk of extracting, to have everyone try to come kill you. So PvP probably on the table. Diablo 3 never had PvP. I really don't think Diablo 2's PvP was that much. I know one guy who was really into it, but I don't think it was that big of a deal. But there is a potential for PvP. A lot of the PvE content, as I said, was really good. I don't think it's open. The Hell, whatever it's called, is just a really good mechanic. The whispering things are good mechanics. Side quests are just okay. Never been a fan of side quests. Main story took too long. Hopefully you only got to do it once per season. Even better, you can skip it. I would love to just skip it and go to regular game content. Hopefully they see the light and get rid of these canned little events where you hit Q to do it. Hopefully you see the light. I seem to be the only person bothered by this, but you know, I can't help that I am bothered by the fact that this is going to automatically climb all the way down and I can't interrupt it, or I can't even engage in that mechanic. It's just the game's going to play itself. I don't like that kind of shit. Yeah, 9 out of 10. It exceeded all expectations. The game for me ran virtually flawless. I had a couple crashes, but I think it was my Chrome. There's something wrong with my Chrome. It eats my RAM and then crashes my computer. So I don't think that was the game's fault. A couple lags going from zone to zone, but that's totally expected. And to me, acceptable. Even the best games will get a bit of lag going from zone to zone. And there's a bit of institutional rot in Western developers where their games are just dog shit. They have been for a while. They just can't keep up with Japan. Japan is putting out banger after banger. You got Zelda, you got Elden Ring, you got Street Fighter 6, you got Resident Evil 4. Everything they do seems to be gold, and it's probably because they have passionate leadership that cares more about creating a good game than creating good microtransaction platforms. As for the microtransactions, for now, they're fine. I don't give a shit. Hopefully more people other than me spend a bunch of money on this game, so they view it as a long-term product that they can continue to make improvements to and see it as a investment worthy of their time so they can make these seasons as good as possible. Eventually, it's going to be pay to win. I have no doubts about that. It'll probably take a year or two before they suck out the hardcore players who care about pay to win. And once they've sucked out the hardcore players that are pay to win, they're probably going to throw in pay to win probably a year or two and then just suck the wells dry. Then they'd have pay to win and then going to suck the wells dry. And that's fine too. You got to get their money from those fucking wells. Suck them dry, and then Diablo 4 will be dead once they do the pay to win, which will probably happen because Blizzard's just a terrible company, despite them making this adequate product. I think that covers most of what I want to talk about. It's mostly just ranting. Obviously, there's a ton of shit. I can just rant forever about all the different mechanics and ideas in this game, but I will cut it there. I'm sure you're all tired of hearing my voice, if you're even still here. The aspect, being able to extract aspects is really cool. Being able to turn yellow items into uniques is pretty cool. Well, not uniques, into rares. So what these gold ones are, yeah, I think they're rares. Legendaries, to turn them into legendaries. Having uniques that can have build-defining features is really cool. Stats, having their own unique individual characteristics is awesome. Each character having its own unique specificities to it is pretty cool. The fact that the rogue is different than the barb is different than the druid is really nice. In Path of Exile, all the characters identical. The only real difference is your ascension skill points and then your starting position. But you can take a juggernaut and turn him into a wizard. Just path up to where the wizard is. And I wish there was more defining personality characteristics with the characters within Path of Exile like there is in Diablo 4. So Diablo 4 is doing things a little bit better than Path of Exile in that regard. But as I was saying, I think Diablo 4 is going to be a great accompanying. Hopefully they don't try to compete with each other. They try to complement each other. So Path of Exile will release its season in January. Then Diablo 4 will release it in either February or March. And they'll just kind of alternate. So I could play both. Because if it comes time for competing against each other, that'll be pretty rough. Probably play Path of Exile over Diablo 4, simply because Path of Exile has a trade economy, and it's important to get into the trade economy early. Actually, if you get into the trade economy late, everything will be super cheap. But then no players would be on the trade. That's another thing. We don't know what they're going to do with trade in Diablo 4. Doesn't even seem like trade is necessary or even needed. Everything that I found, obviously, because there's not really good trade. And it seems like the loot drop is high enough that you're going to be able to get what you need. And because of the variance on the loot, when you get the piece of gear that you want, the first time you get it, it's probably not going to be the best piece of gear. So if we take a look at this, we have that 77% basic skill damage. And as I was saying, these basic skills are virtually useless. They do no damage, at least for the rogue. They're not generating resource. They're not doing any damage. I'm only doing it because I'm out of resource for my primary skill. It's the only reason I'm ever casting a basic skill. So this basic skill damage is pretty useless. So I can easily find a crossbow that has a better stat than basic skill damage. And I don't do any crowd control, but other teammates do, and it is maxed out. So, that's a pretty nice little stat. But the fact that the unique drop rates are high, the drop rates are high, but then the variance on the drop rates is going to allow you to constantly upgrade your stuff to keep you playing the game, to keep the game feeling interesting. Now they just really have to pair the content to be able to benefit from you perpetually upgrading your gear. I will actually stop now. I will stop talking. I like it. I like what they've done. It's a great platform for when they when the real game starts, when they start doing seasons. That's when Diablo 4 actually starts. This is like a early access preview into the platform for seasons that they've built, and it could be better. Obviously, I gave it a 9, so there's 1 point that it could be better, but it is really good. They did a very good job. Bravo, Blizzard. I was wrong. I thought I was planning on playing this game just to clap on it, to make fun of it, to clown these stupid developers, but I ended up liking the game a lot. It could be that I played the Rogue, and the Rogue is probably the best class. It feels super good to play the Rogue. It's a little slow with the twisting blades because you got to wait for them to bounce back, and the puncture just really needs to do good damage. But man, I love Rain of Arrows. It just feels so good to pop Rain of Arrows on a big pack, especially when I'm in a group. When you do these group events and I pop Rain of Arrows in a pack and I kill everything, and they're like, "Damn, that boy just slaughtered everything." It feels great. It feels great. It's just really nice. I like it. Anyway, that is all. I have consumed Diablo 4. I recommend it. If you don't like it at launch, wait till the seasons. Seasons are going to be good. Or maybe not. I'm assuming the seasons are going to be good. The game is set up with the optimal ability to allow them to curtail this in any direction they want to go. If Season 1 flops, this platform that they've built, they can easily fix it for Season 2. There's nothing broken in this game. It should work flawlessly for a long time and be super smooth. Path of Exile, for instance, they need a whole new graphic engine because you get 3 mobs in your game, and your frames per second go to 20. You play with 4 of the characters, and you run a 100% delirious map, you're just going to crash your game. It's going to go to 0 frames per second, and there's nothing that Path of Exile can do about that. Aside from get a brand new game with a brand new graphics engine, and hopefully Path of Exile 2 is a brand new graphics engine. I haven't looked into it. I don't really like to ride the hype cycles with games too much. But yeah, very good platform. 9 out of 10. Good job, Blizzard. I had a couple feels from the music, from the atmosphere. It's darker than Diablo 3. It's lighter than Diablo 2. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I'm optimistic.